introducing me. Today that we are talking about nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction, or what you may call mitigation. I'm trying to share my screen. Hopefully it can be seen right there. You can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. As Levanda put it, I'm Nelson Nuwahereza, a Ugandan doing a Ph.D. at Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and Shell Petroleum Development Company, joint venture Center of Excellence in Environmental Management and Green Energy at the University of Nigeria. And I'm also a research fellow at African Research and Impact Network. As she put it, today I talk about nature-based solutions for flood risk mitigation, and I'm drawing this conversation from the paper I recently published. To begin with, why are we talking about floods, not anything else? Destructive natural disaster being experienced worldwide. In 2024 alone, water-related disasters globally, they caused huge losses in terms of lives and property, and inflicted an invaluable cost in terms of billions in terms of damages caused globally. Then the Global Water Monitor reports that of all water-related disasters, floods and landslides were the worst types of disaster in terms of casualties and economic damages. On the left, what you see, that is a destruction in River Nyamwamba catchment caused by the floods in 2013. And then on the right, that's a flood disaster in Bangladesh. These are pictures that I'm sharing to give you a glimpse into how destructive floods can be. In your left top corner, that was a flood in Omundujo in 2019. When you go down photo number 2, that was a flooding in Kenya. That is by River Nzoia that flooded in 2020. Then on top, right, you can see a church destructed in River Nyamwamba catchment. This was 2015 River Nyamwamba flooding. Then 2019, you can see in photo 4, that is Kampala city flooded. I hope this gives you a glimpse into how disastrous floods can be. I'm also assuming that my slides are moving.
Yes, they are.
Thank you, Levanda. Then what is known? We have seen that floods are here and they are causing multiple casualties and losses in terms of economic activities and lives and infrastructure. This threat indeed necessitates an effective mechanism or measure to reduce the risk that is imposed by the floods. And one of the emerging and promising measure is nature-based solutions. These they not only reduce the flood risk, but they also offer additional environmental and societal benefits. One may be wondering what are nature-based solutions, but European Union defines actually nature-based solutions as nature-inspired actions that are energy efficient, resource efficient, and resilient. And in scholarly work, the most agreed upon definition of nature-based solutions is by IUCN. This defined in 2020, where they define in nature-based solutions as actions to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems that address societal challenges effectively and adequately, while at the same time providing human beings and biodiversity benefits. So, given how we have seen that floods are a big risk to not only humans, but also human activities and economic activities and infrastructure, in 2024, I undertook a study in River Nyamwamba catchment. At a later stage, I will show where this is located, but as Lavender put it in introduction, is in Uganda. So the study was to assess adoption of nature-based solutions for flood risk mitigation, specifically looking at socio-economic determinants in the River Nyamwamba catchment. This is the paper we're discussing today is a published paper, so you are welcome to this conversation. Why in River Nyamwamba and why in Uganda in particular? Looking at River Nyamwamba that is located in Kasese district, if you can have a look at that map, Kasese is in southwestern part of Uganda, and River Nyamwamba catchment is bordered by Rwenzori National Park and Queen Elizabeth National Park, and also George and Lake Edward. There have been reports of floods in River Nyamwamba dating back 1966, but between 2013 and 2023, every year, there is a report of River Nyamwamba flooding, not only flooding, but causing damage to property and also leading to loss of lives. If we are to understand the gravity of flooding in River Nyamwamba catchment, I call you to reflect on the May 1st, 2013 flash floods. This single event actually led to multiple fatalities. It led to the destruction of about 70 buildings, several bridges were destroyed, a hospital was brought down, a school was damaged, even a tarmac road. In an attempt to understand why there has been heightened flood risks in River Nyamwamba catchment, studies have been made, and these have reported that loss of riparian vegetation, that is during human activities, has destabilized the banks of River Nyamwamba in the River Nyamwamba catchment. These are photos that show how disastrous floods have been in River Nyamwamba catchment. You can see a bridge that was completely put down, then houses, and the middle photo down, that is Chilembe mines, where cobalt was mined around the 1950s. But now that mining infrastructure was put down. An interesting story about River Nyamwamba is that around 1950s, when Canadians came to mine coal and copper, they diverted River Nyamwamba, created an artificial channel to create space for construction of administrative buildings. So this channel every year would be deserted, but when they left around 1960s, 70s, this channel has not been deserted since they left. And as we'll see, this has contributed or is one of the reasons for the flooding of River Nyamwamba catchment, though not solely the single reason. The photo you see on your screen, that is how River Nyamwamba looks like when water has seeded, full of boulders and stones that have come up from the mountain Rwenzori, in particular, the mountain Rwenzori National Park. Seeing how floods are causing damages in River Nyamwamba catchment, what has been done? It is not that the government and other stakeholders are folding hands, but a number of interventions have been done, including Ministry of Water and Environment implementing an integrated water management development project in the catchment that is between 2021 and 2023. This project included both gray interventions, growing infrastructure, and also nature-based solutions. When I talk about gray infrastructure, I'm talking about the dams and all other engineered interventions. Then, as I defined nature-based solutions, these are nature or the undertakings to restore the capacity of nature to address societal challenges. So some of the nature-based solutions that were implemented by Ministry of Water and Environment were afforestation on public land, then floodplain restoration, or what we may call buffer zone restoration, on both public and non-public land. By non-public, I mean private land. Then there was also on-farm tree growing on non-public land. This is where the project provided on-farm tree growing inputs, including seedlings to private landowners to plant trees on their land. This project undertook a landscape approach, not a specific point action, where the water that actually fills up River Nyamwamba catchment is the flow of water that collects from the entire catchment, not only from Mount Rwenzori, but also from degraded lands owned privately around or within the catchment. My slides are not moving. Oh, they have moved. So why undertake this study? This study aimed to establish household socio-economic characteristics that determine adoption of nature-based solutions for flood risk mitigation in the rural, mountainous River Nyamwamba catchment in southwestern Uganda. Literature, the studies done before indicate that there have been limited studies on nature-based solutions in Africa and East Africa as well. Well-known East Africa is in Africa and Uganda is in Africa. Then some of the studies that have been done in Africa and East Africa, they have been done in urban setups. Actually, none has been done in a rural, mountainous landscape like River Nyamwamba, and mostly the agriculture-dominated landscape. As I put it, River Nyamwamba is located in southwestern. On your right, you can see the sub-counties that make up the River Nyamwamba catchment. On the left, you can see the Mount Rwenzori National Park I've been referring to, where borders are carried down by the descending waters. Other studies have indicated that Mount Rwenzori National Park was burnt around 2012. And that this resulted into loss of vegetation cover. And so when it rains, water, rather than infiltrating, it just rather runs down into River Nyamwamba channel. For this study, I had three questions, and these are the questions that the study answers. The first one was, to what extent have nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction been adopted in River Nyamwamba catchment? The second question is, how does the stage at which a household becomes involved in a nature-based solutions project influence its likelihood of adopting nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction? The third one was, what household socio-economic characteristics significantly affect adoption of nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction. The research design and data analysis is as displayed on your screen. For the purposes of being a dissemination, I do not intend to focus much on the research design and data analysis, which seems more of academic and less of interest to the policymakers, implementers, and actually the affected communities. But for the academia that are in the house, this study used a mixed method approach using both qualitative and quantitative research methods. And I did both household surveys, then I had key interviews, key informant interviews and focus group discussions, then to reach a conclusion of which household socioeconomic activities significantly impact the adoption of nature-based solutions. I used a chi-square test, and then I also did a binomial logistical regression analysis. The study findings, they show that there has been moderate adoption of nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction in the catchment, with 54% of the households having adopted at least one or a combination of river buffer zone restoration, that is floodplain restoration, and or on-farm tree planting. The socioeconomic characteristics of households that influence adoption of nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction are access to flood risk information, past flood experience, and the number of contributors to household breadwinners. By breadwinners, I mean how many members of a household contribute to its livelihood. As you will see, River Nyamwamba catchment, the census study done in 2014 in Uganda reported of how this area is dominated by agriculturalists or people who do agriculture as a source of livelihood. And so hence, these people have been doing, or they are doing cultivation in the floodplains to derive livelihoods. So why would the number of contributors to a household, or why would the number of breadwinners in a household reduce the chances of a household adopting nature-based solutions? This is because of the intra-household land use conflicts, where, for example, you find a father or a household head is, let's say, cultivating eggplants in the wetland. Then the wife is, let's say, cultivating potatoes in the same wetland of river buffer zone. And maybe children in the household are undertaking, let's say, sand mining. And all these contributing to livelihood of this household. So for such households, you find that the chances of adopting nature-based solutions or foregoing part of the floodplain to be restored or to be demarcated, it is quite hard. So for every increase, for every one additional member or every additional number of breadwinner in a household reduces the chances of adopting nature-based solutions by 52.7%. Then access to flood risk information, the households that have access to flood risk information, they have higher chances of adopting nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction. Then also households that have previously been affected by the floods, the study shows that they have higher likelihood of adopting nature-based solutions. Also, the study revealed that the stage at which a household becomes involved in a nature-based solution project has no significant impact on the likelihood of this household adopting nature-based solutions to reduce their flood risk. So this finding, I find it key for implementers and project developers where resources have been used to mobilize or create awareness about the project in the early stages around designing, developing, then creating awareness in early stages. But this study shows that for a nature-based project that intends to reduce the flood risk of a community, it does not matter at what stage you involve a household. If, let's say, your project is to promote on-farm tree growing, by you implementer coming with inputs and distributing them or giving them to households that are at flood risk is enough for them to participate in the nature-based solutions project. I believe this saves us resources that previously have been wasted in unnecessary stages of project. This study recommends that the nature-based solution interventions or projects should focus on improving access to flood risk information. They should leverage on the past flood experience, and they should focus on addressing intra-household land use conflicts to enhance adoption of nature-based solutions for flood risk mitigation. In addition, the study recommends participatory approaches and sustainable and sustained community engagement to ensure that nature-based solutions are locally acceptable. If I may discuss this further, starting with the last one that recommends participatory approaches and sustained community engagement. During the study, it was observed one of the key informants who was actually part of the implementation, he reported of how some households refused to give up part of their wetlands for floodplain restoration. So irrespective of what the law says that about centimeters should be kept as a buffer zone, for these households, they are not willing. Actually, some mobilized the community to boycott the project, and others took the project implementers to court in an attempt to fail the project. But now, the implementers, what they had to do is they had to negotiate a case by case at the household. At the end of the day, some households allowed 10 meters, others allowed 20, others allowed 30. That development informs us that had the implementers resisted participating or negotiating with households, then this project would not have succeeded or would not have even achieved the 54% of the project access, or having the 54% of the households adopt nature-based solutions for flood risk reduction. Hence, for any implementer or designer of any BS project, it is key that you engage the community so that they can understand, or they can willingly, also that you can cater for community dynamics that otherwise, if not catered for, then the project would be stalled or would not be successful. Then about improving access to flood risk information, as we saw, the study unveiled that households with higher access to flood risk information have higher chances of adopting nature-based solutions to reduce their flood risk. Then leveraging past flood experience, households that have previously been affected by floods could be the first target. Then, after they have adopted the nature-based solutions, then these could be used as cases for other households to learn from, or other methods can that allow sharing the flood experiences. This could be through testimonies or any other methods. Then this could increase the chances of adopting nature-based solutions for flood risk mitigation. That marks the end of my presentation. As I said, this is a paper that has been published, and for any correspondences, the contacts provided down there on how we could better discuss this further to be replicated or applicable in landscapes of the similar characteristics or socio-economic dynamics. I want to thank Africa Research Impact and Network for this opportunity to share and discuss this seemingly interesting study done in River Nyamwamba catchment, Uganda. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nelson, for that insightful presentation and the key highlights that you've brought out, looking at how the community can take part and lead the initiative of mitigating flood rather than just depending on the government or rather the private sectors. We were also trying to mitigate the same disaster as well. So this, I think, is really timely and really needs to be upscaled, and also let people know how we as the community can really help in mitigating our own problem and come up with our own solution to the problems that we are facing. Thank you so much for that presentation. At this time, we are moving to the next session of this session, that is the Q&A session. And I'll welcome anyone with a question or a comment on the same. Probably I'll start first, Nelson. This is more of an academic question rather than the topic itself. Looking at the methodology that you used, I saw you used 445 sample size of 445 households and 2 focus group discussion and 3 key informants, something like that. So how did you arrive at getting the 445 households? Like, why did you have to choose that number? Maybe you can just briefly let me know, because I'm having the same, more of the same topic, and yeah, that's the kind of question I was asked. So let me know.
Thank you very much, Levanda. I hope I pronounce your name well.
That's fine. It's okay.
In case I don't accept my apologies, I'm trying to share my screen again.
It's still shared.
Oh,
Maybe just
it
move.
is still shared?
Yes.
Anyway, if I may describe for you the methodology that I used, this was a multi-stage sampling, well knowing that in Kasese, I first looked at the population of Kasese district, and then from there I derived the population of the catchment. Then I derived then the population of each sub-county, how much population the sub-county or division contributes to the population in the catchment. Now, using a formula, I reached that I intended to share that formula here. I reached that the number of households that I needed for my conclusions to be reliable, it is here. I should be able to share this. Share this. Okay. If you can see what I'm saying, I reached a conclusion that for my data and conclusions to be reliable, I needed about 445 households surveyed. And so looking at the percentages of what each sub-county contributes to the entire population of the catchment, I came to know how many households I need from each sub-county. Now, at the sub-county level, I had to get all villages in each particular sub-county or division. Then there I randomly selected the village or the cell to be studied. Now, after identifying the cell or the village, I had to go and get a chairman or C1 who has a list of all households in each cell or each cell or village. So I had to give each household a unique number. Then randomly I picked the numbers to be studied. And so a number that corresponded to a given household, that is a household that was surveyed. Then that is on the surveyed households. Then for key informants, I basically targeted implementers, that is people from Ministry of Water and Environment, then the district, the local district government, that is Kasese district, and then civil society organizations that were contracted actually to do the demarcation and the planting of trees and distribution of inputs. Then I also, for focus group discussions, now I picked these people that have actually been used as key informants. I brought them together to do fact checking, put them in one room and discuss the same and see whether it leads to the same responses as had previously been shared during key informant interviews. I'm wondering whether that answers Levanda's question. In case it does not, I'm all here.
Very well. It's really answered very well. So thank you so much. I don't know if there's another person with a question. I can see Dr. Abuye. It's saying, Dr. Abuye, can I read it for you or you can unmute from your side?
Hello, Lavender. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lavender and the game. So I would like to thank the presenter Nelson. You did a very nice and timely topic, which is concerning to all of us, because here in the desert there is flooding risk. Even there are flooding caused risks happened in our country last year, and a lot of life was lost, and the billions of resources also damaged. So thank you very much for doing this nice work. Saying this all, I would like to ask some of questions. Yeah, I shared the Lavender's questions. You used 445 households for survey, but you used the two focus group discussion. How you read this? How you decided these two focus group discussion? Is two focus group discussion is enough for this survey to validate? And another question is, Have you supported this use socioeconomic data with biophysical data like forest inventory? Thank you so much for your response, Lavenda.
Thank you, Doc.
Yeah, Nelson, yeah, for a question for Nelson, yeah.
Thank you, Doc. Maybe Nelson, you can address those two questions.
Thank you very much. I don't intend to pronounce your name. I may make a mistake and it becomes a lifetime mark. But I appreciate your questions. One, you are asking, how did I decide to use two focus group discussion to validate the 445 household surveys? Maybe I'm thinking we better first know how many people were in each focus group discussion and whether actually each focus group discussions, if I may be quite direct, each focus group discussion had 10 people, and these 10 people, what they were validating, they were not validating the results from the household surveys, but they were validating the responses I had got from key informants, and also I don't want to say that there was a logical reason why I considered two focus group discussions, but having randomly, actually purposively selected. In Uganda we have disaster management committees right away from the national level, the National Disaster Management Committee, up to the sub-county level. So for this study, I looked at the members of disaster management committees from the district up to actually community level. In Ruvanyamwamba catchment, given the experience of the floods, they have disaster management committees up to the village level. So from each committee, I picked at least 2 or 1 to come and share the perspective from at the grassroots level. So, and for this study, I felt convinced that perspectives from each communities were represented by these purposively selected disaster management committees right away from the district up to the community level. Then you asking that have you support for socioeconomic data with biophysical data like forest inventory, and you're wondering if yes or no, why? I have the only socioeconomic characteristics I looked at were strictly at a household level, including how many children are in the household, who heads the household, is land privately owned, have you previously been affected by the floods, such characteristics. I did not consider physical data and to see how it would affect these results. Maybe this is an area that can be explored for further research in the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nelson. Doc, I hope that answers your question correctly.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nelson. Yeah, I got.
Thank you.
Any other question or comment on the same? All right. I don't know who you are, but it's coming as Green Energy and Logistic Consultant. Something like that.
Sorry, this is Eldad.
Eldad. Oh, hi. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for the presentation. It's quite strategic. Over here in Ghana, we had the experience of perennial flooding along the Volta River, and it has created some kind of dynamic lifestyle adjustments among most of the people, and they don't move entirely, but they move when it's gone. They come back when it's receded, and yeah. So strategies like nature-based solutions are quite have a great potential. So I want to know from the research and from the findings, how did you observe within the area of the river Nyawamba catchment? How can NBS be effectively integrated into the local livelihoods to ensure that both flood risk reduction and then economic sustainability for vulnerable communities? What was your findings?
Thank you. I want to admit that I missed part of the last part of the question. What I heard is how can
Okay,
NBS...
so what I'm saying is that with the experience of...
Eldad, you're breaking.
Hello?
Yes,
Yeah, is it okay now?
better.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm driving and joining in as well. Sorry. So I was asking that with the experience of Ghana along the Volta River, where we realized that due to economic reasons and other reasons, people are not entirely able to address the issues of flood, particularly along the Volta River. So interventions like NBS look quite strategic. So I wanted to know from the experience of the River Nwamba catchment, how can NBS be effectively integrated into both local livelihoods to ensure that flood reduction and economic sustainability for these vulnerable communities are attained? I don't know if it's clear now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question about how nature-based solutions could be integrated with livelihood sources to ensure that both livelihood and flood risk reduction or mitigation are achieved. I will not authoritatively answer that question, but I will just borrow from the findings and try to answer your question. The fact that this study did not specifically looking at how NBS and livelihood can be integrated. But from the findings, we can see that whereas number of households had refused to give part of their wetlands for restoration, when they were engaged one-on-one with implementers, they later were willing to give part or forego part of their land that is in the wetland. You know, in Uganda, wetlands are publicly owned, but landowners claim that they are theirs. So I intend to speak from the common man's position. They were willing to give part of the land that falls in the wetland for restoration. You realize that they were not willing to entirely forego their sources of livelihood, well knowing that these people, most of them are into agriculture. But at the same time, they appreciate that they are faced with a flood risk. So to me, I think this tells us that there is a need for community engagement, participatory approach, not necessarily relying on law. In Uganda, for small streams, you're required to leave about 30 meters as a buffer zone. But in a community where people are into agriculture and they have been cultivating in wetland, coming and chasing them away it causes a lot of uproar, and the political dynamics can come in a situation where you find that the government is a populist government. They will not allow you to chase the voters from the wetland. And you as an implementer, as a technical person, yet you are expected to implement nature-based solutions. So striking the balance between your project target and also the socio-economic or the sources of livelihood of the community is key, as we saw as one of the recommendations. Participatory community participatory approaches to see communities accept to participate or adopt nature-based solutions. I don't know whether that attempt makes sense in any way to answer my friend's question.
Eldad, you may tell us.
Yeah, I think that is fine, because the idea is I wanted to know what you observed along the project line, because you realize in most cases that people want to understand that the interventions actually won't put away their livelihoods, because I realize in some of these places you find some of them are fishermen, some of them are farmers and stuff. So once they are able to establish that, okay, the NBS interventions won't put them away, but rather would go a long way to enhance what they are doing. It also helps a lot. Yeah, because there are places where they realize that, especially areas of mangrove like this, they realize that, okay, if mangroves are developed, it rather is a plus on the fish populations, becomes a spawning grounds here and there. So some of these things, when they come to understand, those are some of the ways that I have observed helps them to buy into NBS approach. Yes, and also if there is an area where the community opened up to plantations like teak and others, and then you realize that in the long term, when they realize that some of these things have economic values that will boost them, particularly during off seasons. Well, we have some which are proposing bamboo plantations here and there. Once they realize that bamboo craft and other things would become an economic booster during maybe fishing off seasons, it also helps increase that. That is why I wanted to know what the findings are for that area. But it's well answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eldad. Thank you, Nelson. I don't know if there's another question. Or again, just a reminder, in case you may need this paper, it is already published, and I've shared the link to the publication on the comment section. Just click that link. I think, Nelson, is the same link, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Great.
is.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't know if there's an, okay, Alex, over to you. Alex?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Nelson, for the presentation and for this nice piece of work. But I just had one or two things which I wanted to understand. At some point, you were concluding and recommending that since there is no significant impact of the stage of involvement of a household, but I'm looking at the methodology you used to come up with that recommendation and conclusion, and I find it a bit problematic because I didn't see it in your binomial logistic regression, but you're basing on the chi-square test to conclude, like to make a big statement like that one. And to me, I find it like maybe they were just correlated or there was no association, but it does not really mean that there's causality. Then the other thing which I wanted to understand, if maybe we considered maybe the distance of the household to the river bank, I think that would be one variable which would be really instrumental. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Let's get one more, then you can answer all of them together, Nelson. Nicholas, go ahead.
Thank you, Lavender. Nelson, thank you very much. You know, you're my OB from high school, and I'm glad that you have done such a topic well. Me, I'm talking from a person who was in Kasese during that period when the floodings happened. And I was by then working with the Roads Authority, and the flooding affected a lot of our roads. And we were asked to go and restore some of those roads, some of those bridges you were talking about in your presentation. And in my own opinion, I believe that the individuals, the people who are around those embankment areas have less their impact in adopting these natural-based or solutions. Their input is very small in regards to the financial hustle they have. The people of Nyamwamba are poor people, and their livelihood is basically on those lands they stay on. However much you tell them to leave or to use those natural-based or solutions, their capacity to adopt them is very minimal. Therefore, me, my question to you would be to ask you if you engaged other stakeholders other than the people or the people around those Oliver Nyamamba area. Because I'll give you an example. The roads authorities, the Ministry of Works that was responsible for those for ensuring that the river does not come and affect the infrastructure. The government of Uganda, well, the research should also show us how you have engaged these individuals, or how or what measures have been put in place by these authorities and organizations and MDAs to ensure that they implement those NBS solutions to control those flooding in those areas. Because there's a study that was made about the flooding and or landslides in those areas of Bunjo, which is also around the same place like Nyamwamba, that were basically in the roads sector, in regards to stabilizing the embankments on the roads to ensure that landslides don't come back and affect the road network. So I don't know if you have been able to see some researches in that regard to help us eliminate this problem forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. And Nelson, you may answer the two questions.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, and a colleague that asked, Alex, that asked before these wonderful questions. I will start with Nicholas. He's saying that these community members that reside in the catchment are humble. Let me use the word humble. They are humble households, which is true. But you see, the nature-based solutions approach that was used by this project, the Integrated Water Management and Development Project, it looked at an entire catchment, or an entire landscape, on realizing that actually the waters that result into flooding of River Nyamwamba and actually Chalumba and other rivers comes from or collects from the neighboring hills or mountains, and then end up filling up the channels in the valley. So how they looked at it is, if each household, let's say, planted some trees on their land, and then down in the stream, they have some lines or some meters of a buffer zone. Then this problem of the flood maybe would be mitigated or reduced. This is not to say that nature-based solutions will work alone. If indeed you are in Kasese or in the neighboring metropolitan, you must have observed that there are some engineering or gray infrastructures that were put in place. But again, look, from the experiences that those gray infrastructures that were put in place, when floods came, actually took them away. This tells you that there is a need for combining both. While the nature-based solutions are not already established to control the water flow, these engineered solutions will not work. So it is a process that has to take some time. And Nicholas's concern of whether I've met some of entities that are responsible, for example, for maintaining the infrastructure and what their plans are, I did not have them to be part of my study for this particular study, as this study focused on on-farm tree growing, a household given 10, 20 seedlings to plant on their land. This summed up in the entire landscape, surface water flow can be controlled. Then looking at those that have land in the floodplain, how much during the project were they willing to forego so that these can be demarcated and restored with bamboo? If you go, let's say, to I've forgotten this place, you find bamboo. What are the factors that influenced these households to adopt or to accept participation in these nature-based solution projects? So I did not look at other players in infrastructure maintenance and sustained support of community with services. May I think that I have forgotten Nicholas's question? I seem to have answered both in Nicholas's question, but in case I have not, then I'm all here.
Alex's question you meant?
Yes, yes.
It was talking about the correlation and looking at the household involvement stage and the adoption of
yes.
NBS.
Alex is concerned with using chi-square to reach that conclusion. That is an interesting observation that can be digested further. Basing on this study as it is now, I may not interrogate it further than I have in that paper. However, Alex and I can touch base and see how we can discuss that question further. So I look forward to getting Alex's contact and we discuss this question he puts forward. I'm trying to share my contact in the chat box so that Alex and I, after here, we can connect and discuss his question further. Here it is. I've shared the contact in the chat. So Alex, we can touch base and discuss your question further and see how best we can answer it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nelson. Alex, I hope you can see that. So you can have kind of bilateral conversation on the same. Okay, thank you, team. I don't think there is another question I'm leaving behind or a comment. All right, I think there is no one. I'll welcome Florence. Flo from ARIN, kindly just give us a closing remark before we finally close this meeting for today. Florence, over to you. Lawrence, in case you can hear us. I don't know if Florence can hear us. Maybe I get her. As I get her, Dr. Isaiah, can you just give us a comment? What do you think of this presentation? Dr. Isaiah? Seemingly is not here as well. Okay, Florence, I don't know if you can hear us again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was speaking on a fault.
So,
So I was saying that I joined the first speakers to congratulate Nelson for the wonderful work he's done. So just to mention that I was among the first people to read this paper when he posted and shared on LinkedIn because of the direction he was taking, which is so important. Basically, blending qualitative and quantitative approach kind of makes the study robust. And mine is just a suggestion, even as Nelson continues with this line of research, is to consider robust cross-sectional data models, because as it is using binomial logistic regression model itself suffers from the feedback effects and the issues tied to short panels for a short series as he used in this case. And also it may suffer from the heterogeneity issues, but it is important to implement either instrumental variable approaches to kind of control that or contain that. So even as you continue, and as you wrote me an email, I am open also to, blending my skill sets with yours, even as we work towards bettering the climate change resilience in Africa. So once again, congratulations for putting out a very important work. And I'm happy that sharing through this platform of Friday Reviews makes even this platform the best way of sharing our progress or progressive work in the research arena. So also to other participants, as ARIN, we welcome you to be a part of us. And one particular person that I wouldn't want to go without mentioning is a friend who posted on the charts. Let me look for the charts. Vayanga Donso. Thank you so much for being most like you join us every Friday. This should not go unnoticed because it takes time and zeal to take part to this important conversation. So once again, thank you. Over to you, Lavender.
thank you so much, Dr. Hari. Thank you so much for even noticing our dedicated fellows. We really appreciate and we don't take it for granted. Thank you so much. Florence, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lavender. And
finalize it for us so that we close this conversation.
thank you very much, Lavender. And many thanks indeed for this insightful presentation, Nelson. I think for me, this is not just about Uganda. It reflects a broader reality across Africa, where floods remain among the most devastating climate-related disasters, displacing communities and threatening livelihoods. And what stands out for me in this study is the socio-economic factors in shaping the adoption of nature-based solutions. And we see similar trends across the continent. Like, for example, in Kenya's Tana River Basin, the riparian buffer zones have been introduced, yet land tenure challenges hinder their widespread adoption. I've also noticed that in Mozambique, mangrove restoration efforts have been instrumental in reducing coastal flooding. But again, competing livelihood needs more often than not have delayed progress. And I think I also read in Senegal, St. Louis, flood mitigation structures have been piloted, yet sustainability remains a challenge without any long-term financial or policy support. And therefore, from these examples that I've given, three key lessons emerge. And one of them is that access to flood risk information is very critical. And therefore, communities must be equipped with timely, accurate data to make informed decisions about nature-based solutions. And also, economic considerations are very pertinent adoption is more often than not influenced by a household's financial situation, particularly the number of breadwinners and the ability to invest in long-term solutions. And again, I think community involvement is very key for success, and therefore nature-based solutions must be co-designed with the local communities, and this actually guarantees uptake. And I think this has been successful in Ghana in their agroforestry initiatives. And therefore, as we move forward, for me, the question is not just about whether nature-based solutions are working, but how we can scale them effectively. There is need for stronger policy integration, dedicated financing, and of course, community-driven solutions to make them a reality across the continent. And Uganda's case is just a reminder that when these solutions are owned, they not only get adopted, but they are sustained over time. So these are discussions that should continue beyond site forums just to inform policy and action. Thank you, Lavender, back to you.
Thank you,
Back to you, Lavender.
Thanks. Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you so much, Florence. Really, those are critical highlights that you put out there and looking at the various strategies that various countries are putting in place. So we really appreciate this conversation. It's really a learning platform for most of us who are really getting to know what NBS entails and how communities can be adopt or can be involved, sorry, how the community can be involved in co-generating these solutions. So thank you so much. I think at this point we have to close this conversation. I hope we have some key takeaways home and we're learning, and yeah, so thanks, Speaker Nelson. This is really insightful. You can as well contact the various team members who have shown interest in this topic. Someone like Alex, someone like Dr. Isaiah, so maybe you can connect and scale this conversation further. So thank you so much, team. I'll just request if you can just turn on your cameras so that we take the final group photo. I don't know. Let me see if I can help from this side. Florence, can you help me take the final group photo?
I've done it.
You've done it?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate this. Have a fantastic weekend ahead. Just reach out in case you need this paper to either me or Nelson, and we'll definitely share it with you. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.